All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Chris Show. We are every Thursday on Spotify, Apple Pods, YouTube, and my blog. And our Patreon is coming. I'm just setting it up to make it really nice because if we're going to launch something, we will make it really nice. Today, a really special guest, a fine gentleman who I've met over the years. I believe I've interviewed him for articles before, when back in the day locally, and when he was our local MP for Perry Muskoka riding. And there's so many things that this next guest has done, but I'll just introduce him as the Honorable Tony Clement, and former cabinet minister under Stephen Harper when he was prime minister. And you did a bunch of roles in that, and it's a long list of all your distinguished accomplishments. So we'll just say thank you for your service and thank you for hanging out on the show.
Right on. It's great to be on the show, Chris. Fantastic.
Um, so Tony, I wanted to get into this, and the reason I reached out to you was because you have a really cool show called Boom and Bust. It's a
Yep.
political show. It's on the News Forum Network. And can you tell me a little bit about Boom and Bust for those who don't know about it?
Yeah, boom and bust. Actually, let me tell you about the News Forum, which started 5 years ago now, kind of right at the start of COVID. Not a great time to launch a new news platform, but we did it anyway. And it's a full scale news channel, just like CTV or CBC or what have you. We're on most of the satellite companies' channels now: Rogers 107, Bell 506, Shaw, Telus, Cogeco, you name it.
Yeah.
And so it is a news service. It has daily news, but we also have these specialized shows. And my show was the first show to be launched with the news forum. So far, I've done 580 episodes, so it's
That's
it's
amazing.
been it's been ongoing. Usually, it's on every weeknight. So 7 p.m., 10 p.m. for the Nighthawks. It's on at 2 a.m. as well. I wouldn't recommend that, but some people live their lives that way. Anyway, and when I was approached to do the show, Chris, it was they said, look, we'd love you to have you as a host to do your show. And I said, I'll do a show, but I don't want it to just be politics. What happened in question period last week. I've been there, done that. So I said, I'd like to sort of stretch myself a little bit, talk about economic and financial issues, which I've been doing. So it's economics, finance, tech, cybersecurity, national security. I've added that to the mix the last couple of years. And I've had the benefit of some great guests, finance ministers, premiers like Danielle Smith, David Petraeus, former head of the U.S. Army and former head of the CIA. So we get international guests as well from USA, UK, India, Japan, you name it. And so it's been great. I think we've built up a great audience, and I'm going to continue to do it for as long as I can. I think it's adding something, in a serious way. It's a pretty serious show,
Yes.
and so it's not a banter kind of thing. It's more. I interview guests, and I've had the ability to have some regular guests. I have a monthly panel with the Honorable Joe Oliver, my colleague from the Harper cabinet, Gary Marr,
Nice.
who is former Alberta cabinet minister, now heads the Canada West Foundation, and Sandra Pupatello, who recently was elevated to the Canadian Senate. So we've got a liberal in the mix as well, and
Nice.
it adds for a great show. So yeah, that's what happens with the news forum. So you can find it at the newsforum.ca. Look for Boom and Bust, and I'm there. It's on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
on your cable network as well, satellite network.
That's awesome. And so it's really cool that you've been able to build this, do over 500 shows, you're approaching 600 shows, and bring on all these different guests, which I think is the way to do things. And I did listen to a few shows over the last year or so as I've
Sure.
kind of found it. And I do like what you said. It's not so much about arguing or banter. It's about asking questions, getting the answers, listening to each other, and discussing some important topics for Canada, for North America and for the world. So I think that, that's really cool. And so, like you said, you were able to bring on people. Is it is it easier because you've served in office and you've built this kind of list of contacts to get people to come on your show?
It's a couple of things. First of all, I have a volunteer producer, so she does a lot of the hunting. So usually what happens is every week or so, a news article or an opinion piece, if it interests me and the writer of it interests me, I'll flip it to Arian Keller, who's my producer, and say, "Hey, we should get this person on the show." She does her own research as well and tries to find guests as well, and so the combination of the two really helps. Sometimes I rely on friends of friends. That's how I got David Petraeus, for example, on the show, and other U.S. Like I've had U.S. Congress people and others as well. So yeah, it's a combination of things, and it's just basically whatever I want to talk about. My only rule of thumb is it's not just pure politics. There has to be an economic or a tech or an AI
Yes.
or national security. There has to be something rather than just talking about who's up and who's down in Ottawa. I don't find that terribly interesting these days. So yeah,
Yeah.
it works out very well, and the audience, as I say, is growing.
Okay, that's awesome. And I love that. Yeah, I love the diversity. And it's cool you have a volunteer producer. I need one of those.
Yeah, they're good. She's been amazing, because sending out all those emails and just tracking people and making sure they know how to connect with us and all this kind of thing. It's all those details that matter so much.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And yeah, and it's a lot of work. I know. I have to do it myself. I know what it's like.
yeah,
So, cheers to her for doing all that, right?
yeah.
So,
Absolutely, absolutely, Chris, for sure.
so on that note, and on the podcast note, and you had another podcast because as we can see in the background for anyone watching, if you're listening in your car, you won't see this, but I'll describe the guitars and the really cool guitars on the walls behind Tony right now. You've always been into music. You play music,
Right,
you jam, you rock and roll. You've hosted music shows locally up here on Hunters Bay Radio and some
right.
different things.
Yeah,
Um, so you had another podcast that was separate from the whole political realm and everything. And what was
right.
that about?
So again, that was right around the start of COVID. A friend of mine, Jody Jenkins, who is in Belleville
Okay.
and was a radio guy in Belleville, said, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And I thought, "Oh, let's." I'm kind of interested in doing that. Podcasts were just sort of breaking out. Of course, with COVID, they exploded,
Yes.
and haven't looked back since. So we started a podcast in basically in the year 2020 or so, and called "And Another Thing" podcast, and it was a little bit more irreverent. Like we did have guests, we had political guests as well, but we also had pro wrestlers or musicians or golfers or what have
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Right. It was more eclectic, I guess. And we've gone for about 220 episodes of that. We haven't had one since April, so it's kind of a question in my mind whether we're going to do another one or not. Jody's kind of busy with his life now. He's a big promoter of a huge golf tournament every year. Plus, he's just got his realtor's license, and so he's busy listing houses and other things. So his life has changed somewhat from his radio days.
Yes.
So we'll see. But in the meantime, your audience should know, Chris, that I've co-launched another podcast with Steve Paikin.
Oh,
And
yes.
so Steve Paikin is retired from TV Ontario. Many Ontarians, at least, will remember him from
Yeah.
his 40 years at TV Ontario, hosting shows, etc. So he's retired from that. So he's launched what he calls the Paikin podcasts. And one of those we've co-launched together called Everything Political.
Okay.
And again, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, the usual places. And we've added to the mix former Liberal MP, Martha Hall Findlay, who now lives in Calgary. She used to represent Willowdale riding in Ontario. And so we do this everything political, and so we talk about politics and what's happened
Yeah.
with Mark Carney or Pierre Poilievre or tariffs or what have you.
Yes.
Uh, we launched it with a bang. Steve interviewed Danielle Smith, and that
Oh,
got about
okay.
120,000 views on YouTube alone.
Yeah.
So it was a great launch, and we're going to do it bi-weekly to start with. And in all of these things, Chris, I try to monetize them. I was lucky to monetize and another thing podcast. So we always had a whole retinue of sponsors who were
Nice.
available. We're doing the same with everything political. And yeah, we want to, with everything political, we want to add to the discussion of our national and provincial politics. And I'm sure we're going to do that over time. We're up to 4 episodes so far.
Awesome. That and congratulations on the new podcast. That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
And yeah, Ontarians all know Steve Bacon. So that's
Sure,
like
sure.
that's a household name, I would say.
Exactly. And he's done national things too. He moderated the English language debate in the last federal election. So
Yes, I remember
he's
that.
got a bit of a national footprint as well as I do, of course.
Yep.
And so it's a good, and I've known Steve for probably 40 years, something like that, right when he was starting out and when I was still in university. So we've got that connection with each other over that period of time. So it's quite exciting and I'm quite looking forward to it.
That's awesome. And yeah, that's wonderful. I'm looking forward to hearing more of those too and seeing more guests. So that's great. And to kick it off, like you said, with a bang with Danielle Smith, right off the bat,
Right.
rock and roll, like that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I've got my TV show, I've got my podcast, and as you mentioned, I've got my monthly radio show, Tony's Rockin' Shindig,
yeah,
at Hunters Bay Radio here in Huntsville. So it's all good.
it's all good. Everything's everything's coming up, Tony.
Yeah, well,
A
it's
little
fun,
bit.
and it's, I do just, people say, how do you enjoy retirement? Well, I'm not retired, actually. I'm busier than ever. I've got a lot of business interests. I'm a startup entrepreneur in the tech and healthcare spaces. So I work with startups. I also have an energy startup and a sports startup. So I'm doing a lot in the startup world, and a little bit of consulting as well. So
Nice.
I have all these things going on, and so it's a busy life, but that's the way I like it.
Hi, everyone. Quick break in the action. Right now is where one of you should be putting your sponsorship and putting your products or your services on display to all our listeners, all our watchers, all our followers, everybody, right here, right now. So reach out and we'll hook you up. We'll get you into the next podcast and we'll spread your word for you. Take care. Ciao for now. That's it. And you got to be busy. If you don't stay
Gotta be.
busy, like you just fade away. So I love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Good for you to do all those things.
Oh, for
All
sure.
right.
Yeah.
We're gonna mention this quickly and then we're gonna go into some current events. Man United is really bad.
Yes, they are really bad. Yes, that's my team. Yeah.
I know. Remember, we're having that conversation, and it's okay. It's okay. It's like my team's Roma. I remember we're having that
Oh
conversation.
yeah,
We
yeah,
were
yeah.
wearing the Man United jersey at our friend Manny's restaurant, that little place by
That's
Hunter
right. Yeah,
downtown.
that's
And
right.
we were chatting a bit about that. So
Well, we've
they might
already
not be
lost
bad.
our first game of the season to Arsenal, but it was 1-0. So it's so bad for Man United that a 1-0 loss is treated as a victory.
I know.
Like the fans, oh, it wasn't that bad. We should have won, but just a few little changes and we'll be victorious again. So for those who don't know, last season was the worst season for Manchester United Football Club in 50 years, 60 years, I don't know.
Yeah,
They were
something
in
like that.
14th place, really horrible. So I hesitate to say it can't be any worse because it could always be worse. They could be relegated
It's
out
true.
of the Premier League, which would be disaster. And there's major problems with the ownership. The ownership
Yeah.
are awful people, and they've stripped so much out of the club, made terrible management choices and decisions. Anyway, it's been a disaster for, I don't know, 15 years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'm a fan, so you can't abandon your team just because they're annoying. You should stick with your team. So that's
That's it.
that's the way I look at it anyway.
No, I think it's great. And I tease you about it, but a healthy, strong Man United actually makes the Premier League more interesting to most people. And so, I do hope that they get kind of back on their feet. I don't want them to win everything like they were back in the 90s, mid
Okay.
90s and stuff, but
I think that's a long way off. I don't think you have to worry about that.
but you know what? A strong Man United makes things a little more interesting. I have a lot of friends who support English football teams, and I mean, obviously, I
Sure.
support like Italian football teams, but it's fun to see them, lament Man United beating their team and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it's great to have these healthy competitions. It's good for European football, world football.
it's true.
As you know, in Canada, football slash soccer. It's building. It's
It is.
building. People are getting more excited about it. We've got FIFA coming next
Yep.
year. So yeah, there's a lot to that's kind of helps the sport in Canada. And
True.
Man United, it's a world brand. It's like Roma or Milan
Yeah.
or Bayern
Yes.
or
Real
uh,
Madrid.
Real Madrid, of course,
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
These teams have a worldwide fan base.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you want to see them. You want to see them do well. By the way, I one of the things I've done is I have a very small investment in Leeds United Football Club.
For real.
Yeah, yeah, because they're actually owned by the 49ers. San Francisco 49ers management owns Leeds United.
Okay.
And but they had a call out for other investors last year, and I invested a tiny. I want to emphasize a very small amount
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
for me, and for me it was a large amount. For them, a small amount.
Yes.
So now I'm an investor in Leeds United, and they of course got promoted
They
from the
did.
championship to the Premier League this year. So my investment increased by 30% as a result of that one thing. It's crazy. Like you get promoted to Premier League, bang, your
Yes.
investment is more valuable. But so I'm following now two teams rather than one, United and Leeds. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's awesome, and I personally know some good friends up here, Glenn Duffield and Nathan Sowery, and they're big Leeds fans, so they'll be
There you
happy to
go.
hear you put some money into their team.
I did put some money. I'm not saying it was a big amount, but it was some money
It
anyway.
was some.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, good for you. Good for you. Well, I hope Man United does well this year for you,
Thank
like
you.
better than last year at least. And I hope Leeds does well because
Yep.
it's fun when the promoted teams stay up and do well in the Premier League. So,
Yeah.
and
That's
they're
that's the goal. Got to stay there now. So that's the goal.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we'll move on from football to a more dangerous realm. um, but like it basically, chatting just a little bit about what's going on in Canada today, kind of in the world today a little bit. But in Canada, today when we're talking, which is Monday, August 18th, there will be a by-election in Alberta, and I wrote it down because I wasn't going to remember the name. Battle River Crowfoot riding, where uh, the person who had won the election stepped down, a conservative, in order to allow Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, to run because he
Right.
lost his riding in Ottawa, where at the time there was a big controversy because of the longest ballot committee stacking the ballots,
Right.
and who knows what kind of confusion that caused. Who knows if that impacted the actual election in that riding where the liberal newbie won over the
Right.
incumbent Mr. Poilievre. So, what are kind of your thoughts about one, the fact that Prime Minister Mark Carney right away in I would say, I guess, politically um, kind gesture
Hmm.
uh, called for a by-election as part of the process because he didn't have to, and he
No.
called for one. And then two, this whole longest ballot thing and how it's gone from a protest to almost like interfering with the election.
Yeah. On the first issue, yeah, Mark Carney did the right thing, and he should be commended for that. I'll say that whenever asked. He called the by-election very quickly. It allows Pierre, should he be successful, to be back in the House for the fall sitting of Parliament, which I think is important for democracy and accountability. The long ballot committee, this is the second time they've targeted the leader of the opposition. They have targeted other ridings as well, but that's a pretty forceful gesture to do that. They think that as I understand it, their point is to the extent that they have a point, is that politicians should not be in charge of making rules about the election. Well, we have legislation,
Hmm.
but most of the rules are actually made by Elections Canada. They're not
Yeah.
made by politicians. I mean, the whole point is silly. Anyway, and now they're basically making a mockery of the whole process, finding 200 people to be on the ballot, no names. Many of them don't even live in the riding.
Yes.
But beside that point, they're just there for protests. They're not there advancing a platform or an agenda, other than just to make a mockery of our election process.
Yes.
So yeah, that is concerning. I think Elections Canada did the right thing. They didn't print up ballots with all the names this time. They did that in Carleton riding when Pierre
Yes.
ran in the election. This time, it's a blank ballot. There'll be all the information at the elections booth, but you've got to write in the name.
Yes.
So that I thought was the right thing to do. But there's other things that can be done to still keep the process open for Democratic candidates who want to represent a riding to do so. So, this whole idea that all of these long ballot people have the same official agent. Well, that's an abuse of the process.
Yes.
At least force them to find their own official agent. And other things can be done to tighten up eligibility and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's a distraction. I don't think that's why Pierre lost Carleton. I think there's a bunch of other reasons, including the changes that were made to the riding
Yeah.
for this election in April. And the Liberals devoted a lot of resources to winning that riding. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. That's all fair game. But they
Yes.
they put a disproportionate amount of money and volunteers in Carleton to try to beat the incumbent leader of the opposition. So all's fair in love and war, and learn that lesson the hard way. It's not ideal when your party gains 25 seats in the election but loses the seat of the leaders. So
Yeah.
I'm very anxious to have Pierre back in the House, and hopefully that happens after the vote count.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And then those are all fair points too. And I agree. I think that there's ways to protest things. I think that, I think you made your point in the actual federal election proper in
Hmm.
in the Carleton riding. I don't think you needed to um, target Mr. Poilievre again. I thought that that was a little much. I didn't really like that they were doing that in the first place because I'm like, why don't you find some really good people to support
Yeah,
and put,
exactly.
like let's put some real people who want to make real change and are actually running for the right reasons. Why don't you find those to support and do that from my perspective?
Yeah, I hear
Um,
you. Yeah,
to do that again, and I'm a centrist. I'm not politically connected in any way or party related in any way. I vote for whoever I think is best in each riding I've ever lived in
fair
at,
enough.
at
Yeah,
that time for every type of thing. So, but I do think it's not right to target somebody like that. And so I'm coming at this as kind of an open-minded.
sure.
I'm not cheering for anybody, but I do feel that was wrong. So I hope that Elections Canada, I like the way they did that. Like you're right with the write-in ballot, and I
Right.
do think it's better if we can make some more changes to prevent this, some more rules and regulations to prevent this in the future. So I agree
Got
with
it.
you
Yeah.
100% on all those
Oh,
points.
appreciate
So,
that. Yeah, for sure.
so next up, one thing I want to talk about again, it's something else happening today, which why not talk about it, even though we're airing a little later this week. Um, you know, President Trump and U.S. President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky are meeting. The European Union nations have come with President Zelensky
Right, right, right.
in support. Our Prime Minister Mark Carney has continued to double down on our support for Ukraine and agreeing that the European nations need to come and show the support, almost to say, "Hey, you can't bully President Zelensky right
Yeah,
around."
yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts on all this? the way this is kind of this political theater playing out.
Yeah, well, Putin is a menace,
Yeah,
and he's made the world a lot more unsafe. And of course, he's killed many, many, many
yeah,
thousands of Ukrainians because he wanted to grab their land.
yes,
So he's the perpetrator. He's the problem. I would be much happier if he left the scene.
yeah,
But you deal with what you have. I actually don't condemn Donald Trump for meeting with Putin. I think you sometimes when you're trying to stop wars, you have to do these things.
yes,
The fact of the matter is, in World War II, despite being a virulent anti-communist, Winston Churchill embraced Marshal Stalin,
yes,
who makes Putin look like a schoolboy. He embraced him because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They
yeah,
they wanted to defeat Hitler. That was the goal, and so he started, shipping arms to the Soviets when in the worst of the attacks by the Nazis in 1941 and 1940 and 41. And so I think that shows that sometimes, as Churchill once said, it is always better to jaw than to war. Jaw
yes,
meaning talk, than to war. So I don't begrudge Trump for meeting with Putin. I still am concerned that Trump may not realize that Putin is what a bad actor Putin is. You can't trust anything he says or does. I guess I'm waiting like the rest of the world to see what comes out of this. If there's not only does there have to be peace for the Ukrainians, but there has to be security for the Ukrainians. You can't just, give the Russians a timeout and say, okay, all is forgiven. We'll trade with you now. We'll buy
yeah,
your oil now. All of these things, because like 5 years from now, Putin may decide, okay, I've eaten 20% of Ukraine. I want the other 80%.
yes,
So that's Zelensky's concern as well as Europe's concern, and I think that's a legitimate concern that has to be addressed. There has to be legitimate security guarantees. If Ukraine is not to be in NATO, I'd rather they were, but okay, they're not in NATO. Well, what is the security guarantee going to be?
yes,
What is the tripwire so that you can say to the Russians, okay, that's it, no more. If you do this again, you're going to be fighting all of Europe and America. It'll be World War III. I hate to put it that way. I know no one wants World War III, but it's peace through strength, right? You can't just keep letting Russia get away with this. They consumed Crimea. They consumed part of Georgia. They've been doing this for a couple of decades now with Putin. And the only thing he understands is when you fight back. If you don't fight
yeah,
back, he'll just keep going. And where have we seen that movie before? So that's kind of my perspective on it. I was actually in Odessa, Ukraine, in late May, and was at a security forum that was being a Black Sea. It was called the Black Sea Security Forum. I participated in that forum in Odessa and met with a number of Ukrainian military officials as well as European parliamentarians. A few Americans were there as well, etc. Mike Pompeo was there for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to support Ukraine, and hopefully we'll continue to do so.
yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I think that we do have to find a way. I love what you said. We do have to find a way to stop the war. There's a lot of innocent people dying. And you're right. If President Trump or President Carney or Prime Minister Carney or whoever can go talk to Putin and find a peaceful resolution that's fair, and like you said, it has security guarantees in there. I think we need to do that one way or another.
Yeah.
And because the longer this goes, the worse it is for everybody.
Yeah, and the Ukrainians want peace. They want to be left alone, but
Yeah.
they just don't, and for good reason, they don't trust Russia. They don't, well, specifically, they don't trust Russia, but
Yes.
specifically, they don't trust Putin. And
Yes.
I think that's probably a wise emotion to have.
Yeah, I think he's shown his true
Yeah.
colors in many ways.
By
So
the way, I'm banned from Russia.
what?
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
they
are you
banned.
banned from Russia?
Oh, because the this tit for tat, whenever we sanction, whenever Canada sanctioned a bunch of Russians as part of the economic response to Russia's violation of international laws, the Russians would respond in kind. So one of the people they decided was Tony Clement to ban him from Russia. So I cannot enter Russia. I'm banned from 3 countries, actually, in case you're interested.
Hey guys, do you want to look good this summer or fall or winter or all year round? Check out our merch, Chris O Show merch and Ciao for Now merch. Check it out, put one on, and support independent media and look good doing it. Now back to the show. I am interested. That's
Yeah, I'm banned
pretty
from
cool.
Russia, I'm banned from Venezuela, and I'm banned from Azerbaijan. So there you go.
For real.
Yeah, yeah,
You're banned from those three countries.
yeah. Always on the side of democracy, my friend. Yeah.
Well,
So
obviously,
yeah,
I mean, when you
yeah,
said those three countries, that would have to be the case. Is
yeah,
they see you as a democratic person who's on.
yeah. I spoke my mind a little bit too much, and they banned me. So there you go.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, there.
You know,
It's a
you.
badge of honor as far as I'm concerned.
I think you should wear it. As I love it. It is a
Yeah,
badge of honor.
yeah.
It's awesome. That's great. Um, Speaking of countries and working together, we still have this tariff. I don't want to call it tariff war because I feel like war is a dangerous thing that happens when people are violent with each other. So
Mm.
let's say this like tariff situation
Hmm. Hmm.
where it feels like our country and our neighbors to the south continue to try and one up each other. As someone who's actually had to deal with, you know, I believe one of your cabinet positions had to deal with trade. What did it not?
No, I was industry minister, however.
Industry.
So yeah, right.
Okay, so but yeah, so you would that would affect that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
what do we do now to try and negotiate something that is fair for everyone and that kind of builds, you know, builds the relationship back or rebuilds a relationship that has been kind of torn apart?
Right. Well, I mean, it's going to be very difficult. Let's be honest with one another. Donald Trump is quite capable of using sort of economic threats to get his way on things, and he thinks that America's had a bad deal. He is perfectly entitled to impose tariffs, although I think the way he's doing it is being challenged in the courts. So we'll see whether that survives. But for the time
Yes.
being, that's what he's doing. And other countries then come to the table and say, well, can we reduce the 25% tariff to a 10 or 15% tariff? And they strike a deal. And that's the new. I think tariffs are here to stay with the United States. I don't think they're going away, but we'd much prefer to have 10% tariffs than 30% tariffs, right? So that's part of the negotiation. We don't know what Carney has talked about. The prime minister, for better or for worse, has kept those conversations to himself, and I understand the reasoning for that. I get it, but at some point, Canadians will have to be read in on what exactly is up for grabs here
Yes.
as it goes forward. I think that Premier Doug Ford is right when he said that the real dog in the hunt is what I call USMCA, the free trade deal. Some Canadians call it CUSMA, but I think the only people within a 4 blocks radius of Parliament Hill call it CUSMA. Most people
Yeah.
call it USMCA or USMACA. That's I've
Yeah.
heard
You
that term.
smacka.
Yeah. Anyway, the trade deal that we currently have,
Yes.
that's going to be up for renewal very, very soon, probably in the next few months. And I think that's the real play. I think Trump wants to totally renegotiate that trade deal. The It's going to be ugly for us. I think in
Yeah.
a lot of areas, I can see the Americans say no more supply management. Um, you can't keep taxing big tech the way you're taxing big tech. We don't like this legislation. We don't like that legislation. They're going to be very intrusive. and that's going to be tough to deal with. But I think that's the real battle. And from my perspective, that's where we're going to have to negotiate strongly. I think in
Yep.
the meantime, and this is what Mark Carney has said, and that's what Pierre Poilievre said in the election campaign. We have to build up our own resiliency.
Yes.
We have to get our natural resources to port. We have to build more roads and other ports and other infrastructure.
Yep.
We have to build up our own military. We're completely in, well, for 10 years we were in denial. We weren't we weren't doing our bit for NATO or for protecting the Arctic.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the consequences have been that we're weaker. We're weaker from a sovereign point of view. So from that perspective, I do see us making some moves. I think
Yep.
both conservatives and liberals can agree that these are the right moves. So my point of view is let's just get it done here. Like
Yep.
a lot of promises have been made. Mark Carney has made a lot of promises. I know he's just starting out. I'm willing to give him some time, but we actually have to make progress on these issues if we're going to be able to be in a stronger bargaining position with the United States.
That's awesome. And I think that all the points were solid. I think we need to, yeah, build our military up, be a strong negotiator, not give too much away,
Mhm.
and I think we just, in the face of people who want to tariff us, we got to tariff back, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not having much impact. To be honest with you, I do get uh, the desire to not be pushovers. I get that.
Yes.
Ultimately, the tariffs that we put on U.S. goods don't it doesn't do anything, I don't think, to change the resolve of of the president of the U.S. I
Yes.
think we're only going to get anywhere with him is if we show that we're doing things that are going to help Canada and
Yep.
also, in a sense, help America. When we have a stronger military, that helps America too.
Yep.
So we've got to do
That's
those
fair.
things, and then we can come into it in a position of better strength. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. Like tariffs, like by the time we record this podcast, Trump may have decided of 15 other tariffs. Who knows?
Who knows? It's true. It's true.
So it's a moving target, but
Yeah.
we do have to come up with a better strategy, and the strategy can't just be words. There actually has to be some deeds. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. And I think, yeah, I think we're all waiting for some deeds, and I think we're all waiting for action that is it really shows, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna stick to our previous agreements and any current agreements and negotiate properly so that we can move forward again.
And that's a good point, Chris. When we come to an agreement, how long is the agreement for? Is Trump going to stick to the agreement? These are all issues like Europe and Japan are already facing. They came to a deal with the U.S. administration in the last few weeks, both Europe and Japan, and then they're arguing about what the deal means. Like it's just a never-ending
Yeah.
situation that creates uncertainty. There's a lot of economic uncertainty in the world, but we've listen. Some of the things that are affecting Canada now preceded Donald J. Trump.
Yes.
Our lack of productivity, our high taxation,
Yes.
the inability of our state to actually get anything done and resolved. A lot of fine words for Indigenous folks, but not a lot done. These
Yeah.
are all things that predated and have nothing to do with Donald Trump. They have to do with poor governance in Canada,
Yeah.
which was high cost of living, all of these things. So this was what Pierre Poilievre said in the election campaign. And, some people, oh, you're not talking about Trump enough. Well, yeah, okay, we did, and he did talk about Trump, but he also talked about other major issues
Yes.
affecting our young people,
Yeah.
affecting everybody, really. High cost of living, high taxation, our cities in a state of despair, and
Yep.
violence. These are all issues that we have to deal with, regardless of whether Donald Trump exists or not.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true. And we do have to yeah, we do have to look at a lot of those things you brought up. It's very important to get our country back on track. One of the huge things that came out today before we were chatting, and we talked about it back, speaking of youth.
Yeah.
So the July stats from StatsCan came out regarding unemployment. There was a decrease of 41,000 jobs in Canada in July. What wasn't really affected was people in our age group, the core working age group.
Okay.
Um, we weren't really affected. I think we was like it was stagnant. It just stayed the same, right?
Okay.
And really, our age group hasn't had a lot of drop. Where the biggest drop was 34,000 jobs were lost in the 15 to 24 age group and the youth age group. That
Hmm.
is a scary number to me because, and I wrote a note about this because I read a Financial Post article or something and I shared it on LinkedIn and I wrote a note saying, how is it so hard for our kids to get jobs? There were it, there were more people than ever applying for jobs at the Canadian National Exhibition at the CNE this year. It was like
Right.
actual, and it used to be so easy to get a job everywhere when we were younger. Like we could just go anywhere and get a job and
Yeah.
learn how to work and learn that to be in the workforce. What are some of your thoughts on this? Because for me, this is a key. My son is turning 17 in November. My daughter is 13. Like this is a very key and important topic to me.
Yeah, I really worry about our young people and their ability to integrate into our economy,
Yeah,
to be able to start their careers and lives, to afford to buy a house someday. These are all huge issues, and I think that it behooves the political class generally not to forget those issues. You're right about jobs. It really is terrible, and it'll breed. If we're not careful, it'll breed amongst young people a sense of despondency, but also anger. You
yeah,
know, anger, and sometimes it'll go to ugly places, like anger at immigrants taking their jobs
yeah,
or things like this, right? That's where it kind of goes if you're not
yes,
careful. So we do have to have solutions for this, and the status quo is absolutely not acceptable. And again, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump or
nope,
tariffs. This has to do with the structure of our Canadian economy
yes,
not being available to all sectors of our economy.
yep,
And you know, uh, we live, you and I live outside of Toronto, and Toronto is pretty poor on these things too.
yes,
But we also have these problems of rural disaffection amongst our young people, which is again very concerning. So,
it
yeah,
is.
I think we've got to increase our productivity, we've got to increase our investment, we've got to increase our infrastructure,
Yep,
we've got to keep our taxes competitive.
yep,
All of these things are going to be important if we're going to pass on to the next generation an economy that actually works. A lot of these job numbers, by the way, Chris, like even when the jobs were increasing,
yes,
2/3 of the jobs were government jobs. They weren't in the private sector. Like it was
yeah,
only the public sector government jobs that were increasing, not private sector. That's a bad sign as well. No,
yes,
I'm not anti-government job. I'm just saying if the only place where you're generating economic growth is through government jobs, that's unsustainable. There's fewer
100%.
and fewer people who are actually paying the taxes that actually pay for those jobs. So there's got to be some pretty fundamental restructuring of our economy to make
Yep.
it a dynamic, effective, growing, competitive, productive economy.
Hi, everyone. Quick break in the action. Right now is where one of you should be putting your sponsorship and putting your products or your services on display to all our listeners, all our watchers, all our followers, everybody, right here, right now. So reach out and we'll hook you up. We'll get you into the next podcast and we'll spread your word for you. Take care. Ciao for now. Yeah, I agree 100%. one of the things that's always bugged me is having almost too many public sector jobs, like too many government jobs, and not enough private jobs because, and I think that happens for a variety of reasons, but one of the things I think we could entice more business, more industry, more tech business, everything is if we lowered some taxes,
Mm.
right? And then you could, I think the minimum wage is too high, to be honest. As my dad always likes to say, I think you've met my dad over the years.
Yeah.
And as he always likes to say, is the minimum wage was meant to be an entry level wage, and you
Yeah.
earned more.
Yeah.
It was never
Yeah.
meant to be this
A living wage.
a
Yeah.
living wage. It was meant to be you get in, you work hard, and you earn more. you know and we've totally gone away from that, where now the earning power of middle class people like our family is less because our dollar's not going as farther. And I'm not saying it's all the raise in the minimum wage fault, but
Mm.
where do you think, like, I wrote an article about this last year. I wrote a column about this on my blog. I was like, if you raise the minimum wage now, this small business owner in, say, Huntsville, Bracebridge, Aurelia, Toronto, Ottawa, wherever the small business owner is, not the big corporation, but the small business owner, right? Even the big corporation, but let's say the small business owner, they now have to charge more for
Right.
what they're selling, or like whether it's goods or services, in order to make up that wage, because or else they're taking out of their own pocket and they might be out of business in a year.
Yeah. And what
And
does that solve? Yeah, exactly.
it solves nothing. It doesn't attract people to open up businesses. It doesn't entice people to open up businesses. It does, and big business, they have to answer to their stockholders, to everybody. So now they have to pay everybody more, or they have to keep me paid more because they want to keep me in their employment. So now they have to give me more money to offset the fact that I'm worth, say, triple the minimum wage. And where does that money go? It goes to the clients, it goes to everybody else. So
Yeah.
that, I don't think when we do these things, we think about the long lasting, not we, you and I wouldn't have done that, but I don't think when it was done, there was the long lasting impact to the overall economy.
Right.
Like, I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but kind of,
Yeah, no, the unintended consequences, I guess you're referring to, and
yeah,
I agree. Look, I want people to be able to be active, productive members of our society,
yeah,
and that means improving their lot over time as
yes,
they gain experience and you know, as they prove themselves in a job or in an economic sector. That's what we want out of our economy, and it doesn't really provide that right now. That's
no,
part of the problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm afraid we're gonna lose people.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
Um, on another note, and I know we are gonna stop there, but I got one more question just because it popped
Sure.
in my head.
Yeah.
So, so the one thing that's come up a lot is our immigration numbers. I know we're lowering them a little bit to an extent, right? But now I'm the product of two immigrants, so I am very pro immigration, but I'm also
Mm.
very pro the right immigration to fill the needs that we have, right? And so, I want to see us attract more doctors. I want to see us attract more nurses. I want to see
Right.
us attract more people who are going to come and invest in businesses and build businesses like we used to see all the time in this country.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts about how we as a nation can kind of approach this in a little better manner?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, the system was as you describe, that people would be encouraged to come to this country if they had a set of skills or experiences that would help them integrate into our economy and would help our economy. It's a win-win, right?
Yeah,
We would have another section of people for refugees, which was because we're a compassionate country, and we would have a certain number of refugees that would be added to the list as well. And there'd be a smaller group of temporary foreign workers that would be
yes,
added too, and now the whole system is completely out of whack. I blame Dominic Barton, actually. He was head of McKinsey, and Trudeau invited him to come up with a plan for, a better Canadian economy of the future. And his big thing was we gotta be a country of 100 million people. This is when we were 30 million people. Now
Oh
we're
my gosh.
42 million people, growing by a million a year.
Yes.
And so that was his big approach was, triple the size of the Canadian population, which it's kind of like a sugar high. Like the more people that are in the country, your GDP will grow, right? Because you
Yes.
just have more people. But your GDP, your gross domestic product per capita in this country has been in decline now for 2 or 3 years. So we're all getting poorer, is what I'm trying to say, Chris.
Yes.
Like we got more people coming. It looks like our economy is growing, but we're each individually getting poorer. If you look at the line chart showing American wealth and GDP per capita versus Canadian, they used to be around the same. There might have been a 10% difference
Yes.
in favor of the Americans. Now it's like a total divergence. The Americans are getting richer, we're getting poorer.
Yeah.
Not good. And so, yeah, I think that even the most pro-immigration people, including you and me, I do want newcomers into our society, but I want
Yes.
them to be successful. I want them to be integrated. I want them to be economically valuable, and then we'll have compassion for refugees in that circumstance as well. But yeah, I mean, I think even Trudeau admitted, or some of his ministers anyway, admitted that they kind of overcompensated, and it's completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, who's paying for the healthcare? Who's getting housing? Who's getting the youth jobs? None of this stuff is actually working
No.
partially because we have not been able to ingest the total number of immigrants that we have been approving every year for the last few years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think a reasonable position is we're a pro-immigration country. Of course, we realize that's part of our growth, but we've got to have a better way of onboarding these people. And
Yes.
until we do, the numbers simply have to go down. There's no other alternative.
No, I agree. I think that's a great point. And yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts because I
Yeah,
those are that's where I kind of see it as well. We do need to slow it down until we can get back on track. And one of the things that my family always talks about, and other families I talked about, immigrant families, is how much harder it was for them to come to this country. They had to get sponsors, they had to get proof. Like there was a lot they had to go through. They really had
that's
to show
right.
they wanted to be in Canada. They
That's
had
right.
to show they were going to come and be productive. A lot of them came with not much. A lot of them worked their butts off to get, and so they see what's happening now, and it's disheartening to them because of how hard
Yeah,
they
the
worked.
the other area is the international students, Chris. I didn't
Yeah,
talk about that, but a million a year of international students, that's unsustainable too. And sometimes they were, I know for a fact, from talking to people that some of these students were really taken advantage of.
yeah,
They come here expecting to be enrolled in courses. The courses don't exist. They end up in gang activity or prostitution.
yeah.
It's really horrible. And we have only ourselves to blame for allowing that to happen. So a lot of these things have to be fixed.
100%. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the similar stuff to what I've heard from people in the education realm
Yeah,
and in those college and university realms that it was they were coming in and promised the world and promised education and not even given anything they were promised and spent like some of
exactly.
them their life savings to get here.
Exactly. It's terrible. Just terrible.
It is terrible. So no, 100%. On that note, even though it's kind of a grim note,
Yeah. 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 Happy summer, everybody. Yeah.
happy summer. um, we'll call it a show. And I just want to say thank you, Tony, for taking all this time, for being so candid and honest with all your opinions
For
and being
sure.
open and you know what, educating a bunch of people who are looking to listen and educating myself on some things. And so I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck with all your endeavors.
Right on.
with all of it. I'm going to hit up the links and tag everything that you do
Fantastic. No, I
when I
really
post
appreciate you
everything.
doing this podcast too. Congratulations.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And we're going to try and grow this too.
You should. You should. Absolutely. Get some
That's awesome.
sponsorship. Anybody who's listening who wants to sponsor Chris's show, go and do it.
There you go. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for the shout out. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, everyone listening, wherever you're listening on all our channels, thank you. And listen to Mr. Clement and sponsor the show. and and thanks again, everyone. And ciao for now.